Hello, welcome to the Daily Fantasy Whip. I'm Big Italy 42. He is at BChad50. Josh Shepherdson. We're talking about fades and stacks for tonight's 8-game slate. And if you watched our earlier podcast, you'll know there's not a lot of pitchers that we love. So this should be a fun podcast. Lots of stacks. Not a whole lot of fades. So lots of big-time upside. And if you're a big GPP player or you're not and you just want to try it out, I mean, there's some definite viable options tonight. FanDuel and DraftKings, you can get yourself some stacks. Throw them in like the solo shot or the sack fly or one of these $1 tournaments. You can stack a bunch of teams for cheap. Give yourself a shot at some big money. So without further ado, we're going to go game by game here. We'll give you the odds and everything so you know exactly what you're looking at. First game here, Boston at Texas. Wade Miley against Chichi Gonzalez. I want to pick on that name, but I'll leave that one alone. But this one does have the biggest total of the night, 9 runs. Wade Miley, fortunate that he's opposing Chichi Gonzalez because he's actually a favorite here on the road at -126. Like I said, huge total, 9 runs. This one, going to want to get yourself a part of both sides of it. Obviously, Texas has a bunch of guys that match lefties. Even Prince Fielder and lefty can hit lefties. I would say if you're stacking Texas, you're going to have to get yourself some Adrian Beltre. Shin-Soo Choo hits lefties pretty well. Josh Hamilton probably be the guy that you leave out of it. Despite his big game last night, but probably like a 1 through 4 type of stack on FanDuel, or maybe get creative with your stacks on DraftKings and go like I don't know, 1 through 4, maybe skip Hamilton and then 6, 7. Try to get creative with it because I feel like Hamilton will be high owned and like you mentioned earlier, not very good in a lefty-lefty matchup.
No, and I mean usually they say save the best for last, but we've got my favorite stack here right in the first game, and that's the Red Sox. I'm going to be grabbing the Red Sox heavily. We've seen Dustin Pedroia lead off lately. It's going to be Pedroia, Betts. I would expect Mike Napoli to hit up in the top 4 in the order somewhere. I like some of the down order pieces like Xander Bogaerts and Alan Craig. So the nice thing about the Red Sox is you're going to see some potential for some odd stacks. Maybe not necessarily just your 1 through 6 on DK or your 1 through 4 on FanDuel. You might be able to mix it up just a little bit. Let's see what the lineup looks like tonight. But I'm going to be grabbing a ton of Red Sox. I like the Rangers as well. One name that I really like on the Red Sox, assuming he starts, is Delino DeShields tonight. Yeah. I would expect with Leonis Martin being left-handed, they'll probably sit him in favor of Delino DeShields in the outfield. $3,200 on FanDuel. Probably will be leading off. Has done a really good job of getting on base. And just a bargain basement price on DraftKings of $3,600, and you can use them as second base. So I really like the Shields a lot tonight. Love Beltre. Both sides look good. The Red Sox look a little bit better to me. They are road favorites, so Vegas and odds makers agree. But I'm going to be picking on both of these left-handed batters, and I'm going to be stacking from both sides.
Yeah, and an interesting way to go here would be on DraftKings, obviously you have to have hitters from 3 different teams. FanDuel does not have that rule, so you could go and stack 4 of each side of this one, being that it's the highest total. Stick it with whatever pitcher you like, whatever pitcher you can fit, maybe depending on where you go with your stacks. And that's a route that I'll definitely be taking tonight in the tournament.
Oh, yeah, without question.
All right, Kansas City at the Chicago Cubs, and I did just notice we should be warned about some weather concerns in this one. It's not looking good with some potential storms and rain, so keep that in mind before you get your stacks in this one. But with that being said, Kansas City is the only stack I'm really looking at here. I mean, the Cubs, interesting, but the wind is blowing in big time. 6.5 run total right there, pretty much the opposite. Well, at least for tonight, it is the opposite of that Texas-Boston game, where lowest total. Ventura, wild at times, but he's got great stuff. Big-time strikeout upside. Wada hasn't been awful, but he doesn't pitch deep into games. So for me, I'm going to go with the better offense, and that's the Kansas City Royals if I'm going to stack this side at all against the young Tsuyoshi Wada.
Yeah, I mean, I actually like Ventura in tournaments tonight because he is facing such a strikeout-happy Cubs lineup. So I'm obviously not going to advocate a stack against him. But Wada, on the other hand, depending on how that Royals lineup is arranged, there is some stackability against him. I like $2,300 Salvador Perez, so you might be able to do some skipping around, maybe depending on where he hits in the lineup. Love Lorenzo Cain. Some of the lefties are actually hitting lefties this year, so I feel a little bit better about using them than I would in years past. But as you said, weather is a huge concern. I have Weather Underground open right now, and we're looking at between 5 and 9 o'clock tonight. 100% chance of rain. By 10 o'clock, it drops to just 76%. So, in other words, it looks really nasty right now. Maybe that changes, but keep an eye on that forecast because if we're looking at 100% chance of rain, I don't like the odds of the game getting in.
No, me either. So if it looks bad, it's an easy one to fade anyway. Like you said, it's not a high total. You like one of the pitchers.
Yeah.
One of the pitchers. The other guy hasn't been too terrible either. So we'll just leave that one at that. Los Angeles at St. Louis here. Michael Wacha against Carlos Frias. And interesting one here. 7.5 run total. Wacha minus 143 favorite at home. And Frias got absolutely destroyed in his last start. 10 earned runs in just 4 innings. Did force 11 ground ball outs. I mean, that's kind of his strength there. Not a big strikeout guy, but he does keep the ball on the ground. This one's going to be interesting. I am not going to be targeting Michael Wacha, despite this being a good Dodgers offense. I think there'll be a low-owned stack. But at the same time, Walker's been pretty good. I do really like the Seattle. We'll get to them in a minute. The St. Louis stack. I'm thinking about Sean Markham over here.
It's an S.
Yeah, it's an S. But St. Louis, going to be targeting Frias with them. And I prefer to stack them on DraftKings rather than FanDuel. Reason being for that is that there's not usually that one hitter that really stands out, like your Nelson Cruz on Seattle, to go back to that once again. But, they're a good team offense to stack. So you really want to get as many pieces as you can. So for me, if I'm stacking Cardinals, I'm stacking them on DraftKings. I'm going to go 1 through 6, 2 through 7, probably a couple different stacks of them because you want to be able to get the pieces of all those. I mean, you see 7 and 8 hitters having great games here for St. Louis at times here. So definitely going to be stacking them. But like I said, I prefer them on DK so you can get 6 and not 4. And you don't want to miss out on some production in the bottom of the order.
Yeah, on FanDuel, I really like the idea of hooking the combination of Colton Wong and Matt Carpenter together. That's the duo that I think is most likely to produce. But as you said, the lineup it lacks that one superstar. They've got a number of very good hitters. So sometimes the guy that produces ends up being in the 5-hole or the 6-hole. So the deeper you can go as you can on DraftKings, the more likely you are to get to not lose that big game as part of your stack. But I like the St. Louis side of things. The Dodgers' best offense in baseball against right-handed pitchers, as you said, might be low-owned. The problem is they lack a lot of left-handed bats in the top part of their order. You've got Peterson probably leading off. You got Adrian Gonzalez, but in between that, you've got Jimmy Rollins as a switch hitter who really you're only rostering him because he's surrounded by talented hitters. Howie Kendrick, righty-righty matchup. Don't like that with Wacha. Just not a lot of left-handed bats, so it's not a stack that I love. But as you said, it's low-owned, and they are the best offense in baseball against right-handed pitching. So there is some viability to it. I'm not going to be subscribing to that line of thinking, though. I'm going to be fading the Dodgers, maybe grabbing some one-offs with Peterson and Gonzalez, but not going to be stacking them, certainly.
Yeah, and in a perfect world, maybe we see Andre Ethier in the top 4 in that lineup and get another left-handed bat up there. But in my perfect world, there would be no Don Mattingly as a manager of a baseball team. So obviously, that's just me dreaming about that. But had to throw in my little dig against Don Mattingly. I think he is, well, we'll say awful. I'll be nice. Either way.
Unfortunately, the Nationals aren't on this slate, or I'd be getting my digs in against Matt Williams. But that's here nor there.
Wait, you don't like Escobar batting third?
It kills me to say this because Matt Williams is one of my favorite players as a kid growing up. Like, he and Barry Bonds were the reason that I fell in love with Giants baseball. But as a manager, Matt Williams makes me want to just break things. So
yeah, I mean, I was watching Reds Nats last night, and Escobar came up with the bases loaded and grounded out on the first pitch, while Bryce Harper is standing there swinging a bat violently in the on-deck circle with no chance to come up. And hey, but he got to lead off the next inning.
That's good. That's good.
Unbelievable. But you wonder why these guys, or how these guys win games. But maybe they'll learn. I mean, just all these guys got to do is just check Twitter one time, and they'll know everything they're doing wrong, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, Detroit at the Los Angeles Angels is our next game. Two interesting pitchers here. Both have had their moments of good. Both have had their moments of bad. You got Shane Green against Jared Weaver. 8-run total here. Pretty high total considering it is in L.A. in the Pitcher's Park. Jared Weaver, small favorite, minus 115. But started out, it looks like as a minus 144. Quickly bet down. Most of that due to the fact that Detroit offense is much, much, much better than this Angels offense, especially against right-handed pitching. The Tigers have had those times where they disappear more often against lefties than against righties, but they do still hit righties pretty well. As we know, the Angels battling it out with the Phillies as worst offense in the league against righties. So you want to target the Tigers and you want to stack the Tigers, but as it is every other day, really, really expensive to do so. Not so bad on FanDuel. You do have Miguel Cabrera at 4,900, but then your other guys, I mean, Cespedes at 33, Kensler 33, Rajai Davis should probably, I'm guessing he's going to bat 6th or 7th today if he's in the lineup at 3,000. Leadoff hitter Anthony Goes at 3,000, and JD Martinez at 3K. Really like him. I think he's going to be a guy that I fill in a lot of other places as well. But an interesting way you could stack this one would be, I'm not saying that this is the best play, but you could always leave Miguel Cabrera out, stack all these other hitters, throw in another big first baseman bat there, get yourself maybe a Tyson Ross with that stack. And if Miguel Cabrera has one of those days where, he's a $5,000 price tag. If he's not hitting you a home run, he's not paying that tag. So if they keep him in the yard tonight, maybe you leave Miggy out of your stack. Maybe that's your interesting way to differentiate yourself.
Well, and it is at night, and we know Miguel Cabrera apparently can't play at night this year, which is
the sun.
The strangest thing. I it's not a split that means anything, but it's just so weird. Like I can't help but chuckle at it this year.
You think he's got artificial lighting in his house so he feels more comfortable at nighttime?
Maybe. The total's somewhat enticing. The pitchers to pick on are somewhat enticing, but outside of maybe stacking the Tigers because that offense is capable of going nuts at any time, there aren't enough left-handed bats to pick on Shane Green, and the Tigers are pretty righty dominant, so I don't love the stack. I think it's going to be higher owned than it probably should be, but I can understand picking on Jared Weaver and his fastball that might not be able to break a pane of glass at this point. It's a game where I like pieces in it, but I just don't see myself going full-blown stack on either side.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Just to reiterate that point there, Jared Weaver against righties this year, 277 WOBA allowed, so he's actually been pretty good. He's only walked 4 in 31 1/3 innings, too, so we know not a high strikeout guy, but also a guy that's not giving away free passes. So if the Tigers don't do that, they're not hitting particularly well, they might not get a whole lot of base runners for your stack. So I'm with you there. Going to be a more popular one, but I don't blame you if you just fade it completely there and just maybe get yourself a couple of the lefty bats if you can, but that's about it. On the Angels side, I want to say I want to target Shane Green, but they've just been so bad. I guess you could stack your top 4, depending on who's first. Get your Pujols, your Calhoun. Of course, Trout, doesn't matter who he's facing. Those guys, but I don't think I'd be including guys like Eric Ibar in a mini stack there because it doesn't have enough upside for me.
I think maybe the most interesting way to go about this, depending on how the lineup's arranged, could be something like for salary savings, Ibar, if he's healthy enough to play tonight. Ibar, your 2-hitter, Trout, skip Pujols, and then Calhoun we know has been hitting cleanup, so I like Calhoun as a left-handed bat. Maybe Matt Joyce hits 5th tonight. There's your next left-handed bat, and we know Green struggles mightily with left-handed batters. There's 4 hitters. There's your 4 that you can get on FanDuel. This is an instance where I like the FanDuel stack better than the DraftKings stack because I'm not going 6 deep with the Angels. I'm going to go smaller, and if you end, I see no reason to go beyond that. They just don't have the left-handed bats beyond that. Maybe you get that 1 through 5, skip the 3-hitter stack, and then plop in that big first baseman, like you said. But that's about as viable as you're going to get a strategy with the Angels. They just don't quite have the bats to pick on Shane Green with tonight.
Yeah, unless for some reason we see maybe a lefty batting 9th, you can get a little wraparound stack, something contrarian like that. But I'm with you. They just have not been good enough for you to want their entire lineup or a majority of it there. So moving on next, Atlanta at San Francisco. Williams, Perez, Tim Lincecum. Tim Lincecum minus 143 favorite. Just a 7-run total there. Kind of takes away quite a bit from that when you notice a lower total. But I don't mind a San Francisco stack. I think you're of the same thinking. We were talking a little bit before the show. You want to get yourself some lefties here in this matchup against Williams, Perez, who hasn't faced a lot of the lefties. Only faced 27 so far this season, but he's given up 6 earned runs, just 5 2/3 against them. 405 WOBA allowed so far. So obviously very small sample size, but you're going to want some lefties. And there's some pretty damn good lefties on the Giants there. You got Brandon Belt, Nori Aoki, and even the righties. Hunter Pence is in play. He's only 3,000 on FanDuel. You got to like his price. Of course, Buster Posey hits anyone who throws a baseball near him. And even Nori Aoki at 2,900 on FanDuel, not a bad price for lefty there either.
Yeah, and this is one of those lineups, again, very Cardinals-like. I mean, Posey is the clear-cut superstar in this lineup. Pence is a pretty clear-cut, solid hitter, and same with Belt, but there's depth to this lineup. There's a lot of guys that just get on base. It's not exactly station to station, but it is, singles, doubles driving in a lot of guys. It's not get a hit and then find the seats, and you're not relying on the long ball here. So this is a stack that I like a lot better on DraftKings, where you can go 6 deep and you can go Aoki, Panic at second base, hitting in the 2-hole, Pagan, Posey, Belt, and Pence. There's your 6 hitters, and all of them have that potential for multiple hits, multiple RBI. They're actually the second best offense in baseball against right-handed pitching this year, according to WRC+. So you don't like the ballpark, you don't like the low total, but you got to like the hitters, you got to like the damage that they've done against righties, and you got to like the fact that Perez is a young rookie right-hander who's hasn't even made a handful of starts yet at the big league level, has struggled in a very limited sample against lefties. What I like, because because the sample is so small, look at his minor league numbers, and we're talking about a guy that pitches to contact. Giants are a lineup that likes to put the ball in play and sting it around the diamond, so I like the Giants a little bit more than I probably should tonight. Maybe that's the homer in me coming out, but I like the number of left-handed bats that they can throw at Perez tonight, and I like the fact that he pitches to contact. So that 1 through 6 is all in play for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you there, too. On a short slate like this with some not a lot of great totals in place you want to target, I think that is going to be one of my favorite stacks now that I think about it. As we move on to the next game here, New York Yankees at the Oakland Athletics. This one's going to be another low total, 7-run total. Nathan Eovaldi versus Jesse Hahn. Don't want to stack Yankees against Jesse Hahn. He's been pretty good. He's not great, but he's efficient. Pitches fairly deep into games. He's been pitching well, and I just don't have a whole lot of faith in a lot of these Yankee batters, especially away from Yankee Stadium. So you and I agreed. We talked before the show. It's going to be a time where you're going to want to target these lefty batters for Oakland. Really all of them in play, but especially the lefties. You got Stephen Vogt, Josh Reddick, Billy Burns. Even Ben Zobrist over here. He's a righty, but he hits righties pretty well. Marcus Semien, Brett Laurie. All these guys, even the righty bats, in play, and none of them expensive. So, you could stack this, especially on FanDuel. Stack this team. Throw it in with another stack you like. 2 mini stacks. I'm sure you can easily still fit Tyson Ross. So, I think this is going to be a really fun stack to have tonight in that big ballpark.
I really want to see what the lineup looks like for the A's tonight. This is the rare instance where I'm advocating Marcus Semien hitting down order. Eovaldi tough on righties, but not good against left-handed batters. So if you can get Billy Burns, switch hitter at the top, Ben Zobrist somewhere switch hitting, either third or second in that lineup. Josh Reddick hit left-handed, throws right-handed, which is always interesting to me. I like players that are odd like that. But then you've got Stephen Vogt. Billy Butler's going to hit somewhere in the top 5, but I would like to see him hitting 5th tonight so that you can get 4 bats in the top that all can hit left-handed and expose Eovaldi's weakness against left-handed batters. So if we see something like that, they look like a very viable stack to me. If they if they put a couple more right-handed bats at the top of the order like Semien, it looks a lot less appealing to me when you've got Semien and Butler in key lineup spots as right-handed batters against Eovaldi. For all of Eovaldi's faults, he is very tough against right-handed batters.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And Jesse Hahn, you could target him in small doses with some lefty bats like Teixeira, Gardner. Obviously Teixeira switch hitter, but been really, really tough on righties, so I want no part of that.
Yeah, and the biggest problem with that is the left-handed batters or switch hitters like Teixeira, who will get to bat left-handed against Hahn. You're talking about McCann and Teixeira being key pieces, and they just aren't the same players away from Yankee Stadium. They deal with the shift. They really need fly balls to leave the yard if they're going to have effectiveness, and O.co is not the ballpark that you need to be rooting for homers in.
Yeah, especially McCann. He's got awful splits from home to road, and they're not going to get a much worse park shift, especially in right field, than you're getting here from Yankee Stadium. Next up, Pittsburgh at San Diego. We saw a good game there last night. 7-run total. Tyson Ross minus 100 favorite over Charlie Morton. Small favorite for the guy that we're all going to be playing in a lot of cash games tonight. But with that being said, he's still by far the best pitcher tonight. And Pittsburgh has started to get it going recently. But Tyson Ross, highest strikeout rate on the night, highest ground ball rate on the night, lowest home run rate on the night, highest swinging strike rate on the night, and then the one bad, the highest walk rate on the night. But a lot of things going for him. With that being said, if you want the ultimate contrarian stack, go ahead and stack the Pirates. I won't be doing that. I do think Tyson Ross is in a fine spot tonight, but since he will be popular, we've talked about it a bunch of times before, that's a great way to differentiate yourself from the field. Taking a big risk, of course, but, if Tyson Ross is 40% owned tonight in a GPP, and you stack the other team against him, they score 5-6 runs, you're up on 40+% of the field quickly.
This really all comes down to volume of play. If you're playing 100 lineups tonight, then sticking in a couple Pirates stacks for game theory purposes, really, it makes sense. But if you're strictly on a limited budget and you're only playing a handful of lineups, you don't want to be using the Pirates. It really all is about your bankroll and what you can do. I won't advocate a Pirate stack unless you are a high volume gamer, in which case it just based on game theory, based on the fact that Ross is going to be high owned and that you're kind of it's a whole contrarian idea of being different, going against the grain, and lopping off the percentage of the field that you'll be competing with. If you hit on your Pirate stack, it's going to be such a low owned stack. You're going to be leapfrogging almost everybody in the competition, and it's definitely viable from the game theory standpoint, but from a strictly smart money play, it's not a top play. And you and I talked about it before the show. Charlie Morton would be a nice pitcher to pick on if the Padres had left-handed bats in their lineup. They just don't. Their best bats are right-handed. Chuck is pretty good against these right-handed bats. He keeps the ball on the ground, tough on the righties. The transformation into Doc Holliday doppelganger here with the mechanics and everything has worked out for him, at least against right-handed batters. So I don't really like the Padres stack either. Unfortunately, Justin Upton just not the same player against left-handed or right-handed pitchers as he is left-handed pitchers, and Chuck just so tough on righties. So I'm going to be avoiding the stacks from this game, and that's not to say that I want to use Charlie Morton, but it is to say that I'm not targeting him at all.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and to kind of help you out a little bit, since we're not stacking that last game, we're definitely stacking this final game here. Cleveland and Seattle. Just a 7.5 run total. Ryannis Elias, a -130 favorite against Sean Markham. Got to think that the only reason that this game has a lower total is because it's at Safeco Field. It is going to be 74 degrees, a little bit of humidity there, not a lot. So you got to like the higher temperature, obviously, for the ball to carry here. And you got to like the fact that neither pitcher's that good. Sean Markham especially, he's just a bad pitcher right now. He had one good game when he first made his first start on the 20th. Went 6 2/3 against the White Sox, got a win, but got bashed by Texas next start out in 2 2/3. So Texas not a great offense either, but Seattle certainly has some bats to be able to exploit Sean Markham's weaknesses, and there's quite a few of them. So far, 25 batters faced as far as lefties go. He's allowed 6 hits, 7 earned runs, 3 home runs, 3 walks. He's been awful against lefties so far this year. And then you look at his numbers against righties, and he's actually been pretty good on righties. But fortunately, one of the best hitters in the game, Nelson Cruz, a righty, doesn't care about the splits that Sean Markham's had in his 2 starts so far. And the lefty bats, outside of Robinson Cano, who I don't really trust, there's some good lefty bats in this lineup too as well. You got your Seth Smith, Kyle Seager, the ghost of Robinson Cano. All these guys certainly a play for tonight. And I don't mind stacking the other side with Cleveland either against Ryannis Elias because, yes, it's lefty-lefty for a lot of these guys, but this is a team that's been hitting the ball really well.
Yeah, and some of these lefties, Brantley's really stepped up his game in the last year plus against left-handed pitching, so it will be a bit of a contrarian stack because you're going to see a lot of people dismiss the lefty-lefty, and if you want to go contrarian stack, I would much rather go with the Indians lefties against Ryannis Elias than going with the Pirates against the Padres. I think it's a higher percentage play. So if you want to go contrarian, but you're playing on a smaller volume, maybe grab the Indians instead of grabbing the Pirates. Of the 2 sides, though, I really like Seattle as the stack here against Markham. As you said, there's some left-handed bats that are pretty nifty in Smith, Seager, and the ghost of Robinson Cano. At $2,600 on FanDuel, really good price for Cano if you can forgive him for his early season struggles, and assuming he's healthy enough to play tonight. Has missed a couple contests with what I believe is just an illness from everything that I've read. We don't know the details of that. I don't want to know the details of that. But I'll grab some Mariners bats tonight, and I'll grab the other side too if I'm looking for a contrarian stack.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and that's what all the analysis necessary for today. Get yourself some of these stacks. Have fun with it. It's going to be an interesting slate with not a lot of good pitching. But subscribe to our YouTube channel if you like what we've been doing. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe, and check out all of our content for tonight's slate at dailyfantasycafe.com. Tomorrow, every other slate, and we'll catch you guys next time.